Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this one, I want to take a look at RoboCop Rogue City for the Xbox Series X and S. This is my time being played on the Series S. The game's also available on the PS5 and PC via Steam. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video. And for parents out there, it is worth pointing out that RoboCop Rogue City is rated M for mature audiences only, ages 17 and up by the ESRB rating. Like Terminator though, RoboCop is pretty much known as a well-known franchise that started back in the 80s as well, and even had its own cartoon show compared to with Terminator and everything like that. It's certainly one of those cult classic, or one of those classic science fiction films that a lot of folks who may have grew up in the 80s enjoyed. It would have basically several entries: RoboCop 1, 2, and 3, although 3 isn't considered popular by many folks. And I think they tried to do a RoboCop remake or reboot, and that did not go over very well or anything like that. As far as RoboCop video games go, I will say there have been some out there, but the only one I know of that might be good would be the one I think was back in the arcades back in the 80s. It was a 2D shooter one based off the first RoboCop movie and all. But other than that though, RoboCop video games was a little bit far between. There weren't really a whole lot out there or any that were memorable though. So it was sort of interesting to hear that the folks who worked on Terminator Resistance were taking another shot at another 80s property. This one based with RoboCop and all. And after playing Resistance and everything like that, I wanted to give RoboCop a try, considering how I thought, wow, they did a good job. Not Resistance, I mean Terminator Resistance. And I was like, wow, they did a good job at that game. Maybe this one would be as well. And so after spending some time with RoboCop Rogue City, I will say, like with Terminator Resistance, I kind of came away pleased with this title and all. I mean, it's not perfect in any way or anything like that, but it turns out to show that the folks who did the Terminator Resistance and this game seem to do a very good job with, the license and the source material and all. And I think that certainly is a good thing indeed. So I'm going to break it down into the pros and cons, and we'll start first with the pros. And the first one has to do with is the gameplay. Now, unlike Terminator Resistance, which the gameplay on that one kind of borrowed elements from Homefront Revolution and had a little bit more on Survivor and some horror elements, as you don't want to confront the T-100s or the Terminators. RoboCop is sort of a bit opposite though, where you're basically, RoboCop and you control him, which kind of feels a bit like a tank to a certain degree, and basically blowing the living daylights out of all like the bad guys that RoboCop confronts though. I will say, and I do think the gameplay in RoboCop Rogue City is definitely more on the arcadey side, where you basically taking out enemies here and there, and the more enemies you take out, the more you'll get like experience points, which you can use those to sort of build up RoboCop's ability, ranging from unlocking new skills to basically other stuff like being able to hack, like circuit boards or unlock safes that might be difficult for RoboCop in the beginning. Another neat thing about it is that outside of taking out the bad guys, you could also earn experience points doing certain side quests, to even finding stuff like fake money or drugs or incriminating evidence. That also can be used to build up RoboCop's experience and all. But for the most part, the gameplay is definitely on the arcadey side, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing or anything like that. The next one I do want to talk about is that, like with Terminator Resistance, RoboCop is somewhat of an open world, but I won't say entirely. It's more like a semi or mini open world type though. The area is, I won't say it's as huge as say like Grand Theft Auto would be, but it's still big enough that there's plenty of stuff to do. So you do have also the main quest, but you also have several side quests here and there. Some of the side quests may be unlocking or solving certain crimes that are going on. Other times there may be ones which I think is kind of weird and funny, is that RoboCop could give also a parking ticket and all, which I know that sounds weird, but that is certainly interesting to see that happen and everything like that. So there are certainly a lot of other stuff you could do outside of the main story campaign for RoboCop and all, and I certainly think they add to it though. So the mini open world part to me isn't that bad or anything like that. And last but not least, though, I do want to say that it was nice that they brought back Peter Weller, if I'm saying his name correctly, to return to voice RoboCop, since he's known to play that iconic role and everything like that. So it was certainly nice for him to voice the character in this game, especially with the story, considering it takes place after RoboCop 2, but before, I think, RoboCop 3, although from what I understand, they're working on another RoboCop movie that will avoid the events of RoboCop 3 or something like that. But in either case, it was nice that they brought him back to voice RoboCop and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the con. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of RoboCop Rogue City for the Xbox Series X and S, being played on Series S. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? So there are really only 2 cons I could think of with basically the Xbox Series S or my time with RoboCop Rogue City. And this one does have to do with the Xbox Series S version. Now, it is worth pointing out in the Series X and the PS5 version, I believe that there is a choice of a graphical option for those games. To be exact, you can play it in like performance or graphical mode and all. Unfortunately, the Series S version does not have that at all. You only have really, the game can only be played like at 30 frames per second and all. While I don't necessarily think this is necessarily a bad thing, as I don't think 30 frames per second is necessarily bad, it is a little disappointing that they weren't able to find a way to try to get the game running at 60 frames per second, even when lowering the visuals here. Maybe if it was possible to do that though. So a little bit unfortunate with the Series S version. It doesn't make the game unplayable, but it is sort of disappointing that we did not get basically a graphical option for the Xbox Series S version. The next thing I do want to talk about is the gameplay, and as I mentioned before, I thought in the pros, I did enjoy the gameplay. I do think it was a fun arcade-like gameplay experience, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I can understand how this could be a negative thing to a certain degree. I mean, those that are coming from playing Terminator Resistance to play this one might be somewhat disappointed if they were expecting, like the survival element you got from Terminator Resistance and all. So in which this one, you're mostly like almost an invincible tank or something. I'm not saying you're completely invincible or anything like that. Robotech does have like an energy bar, and you do have to find certain items to refill that energy and everything like that though. But the gameplay is a little bit different from Terminator Resistance. To some, that may be good or bad depending on how you look at it though, but if you're coming in from Terminator Resistance expecting it to be exactly like how Terminator Resistance is though, then you're probably going to be somewhat disappointed with this game and all. And last but certainly not least, I will say the visuals, I wouldn't exactly write home about anything special about the visuals or anything like that. While I will give the developers credit for trying to maintain some of the look and style of like the classic RoboCop movies and everything like that, the visuals isn't exactly anything to write home about. They're not terrible or awful or anything like that, or anything like that at all, but I will say they're basically what you expect from a AA type of experience of a game and everything like that. Still, it doesn't look bad, especially for a game running on Unreal Engine 5 and all, but yeah, I mean, they're AA type of visuals compared to, say, like the AAA type you would get normally from those type of games and all. Overall, I would say RoboCop Rogue City is, again, a good game made by the folks who did Terminator Resistance, and I will give them credit for doing a good job with the source material with this one. to be exact. At its best, though, I think the arcade-like gameplay is certainly not a bad thing. I do like the fact that there is somewhat of a semi-open world to a certain degree with this game and all, and I do like the fact that Peter Weller returned to voice RoboCop and all. At its worst, I will say that it is a little bit disappointed that for the Series S version, there is no graphical option. The arcade-like gameplay may not appeal to everybody out there, and the visuals, I mean, they're not terrible, but they're not exactly anything to write home about at all or anything like that. They're what I suspected for those who played, AA type games and everything. But still, I will give credit to the development team for how they handled RoboCop Rogue City and another review I did on Terminator, or a review I did on Terminator Resistance. I thought the development team did a really good job with the source material and did a good job handling that source material very well. It does give me some hope of maybe they could try looking at some other IPs, maybe like try one based off of Judge Dredd. I mean, I seen how they handle Terminator Resistance and RoboCop. I think that there's potential for them taking a shot with Judge Dredd to even maybe trying a shot at maybe a game featuring the Alien franchise or anything like that. But in either case, I would say RoboCop fans will probably appreciate this. And if you did like their last game that they did, Terminator Resistance, then you'll probably enjoy RoboCop Rogue City. Just be aware that the gameplay in RoboCop Rogue City is going to be, at least in my view, different than what you saw in Terminator Resistance and all. Okay, this concludes my video review of RoboCop Rogue City for the Xbox Series X and S, again, being played on Series S. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about RoboCop Rogue City? Do you think it is a good game and all? Do you think the developers did a good job with this licensed game and everything? Have you picked up the game? Which system are you picking it up with? Do you like the arcadey-like gameplay experience, which is somewhat different than what we saw in Terminator Resistance? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me or Patreon or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.